Marcus Warren joins me once again. He is with Warren Wealth Management, and we always have a topic to chat about. First of all, I want to welcome him into the show. Marcus, welcome in. Good to see you again, my friend.
Good to see you.
Okay, I have just a little trivial, fun question, okay? So we're going to lighten up here a little bit.
All right.
When you were in school, you're younger than I am, did you do the Pledge of Allegiance? Do you still do that every day?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did too.
Yeah.
Because today is National Pledge of Allegiance Day. Just a little fun note. I thought I'd throw it in there.
Are we going to stand up now?
I'll pledge allegiance. I bet you still remember it though.
Oh man, it's this muscle memory. It's like ingrained in my brain.
I'm willing to bet that you were a sharp student. I mean, because you're such a good resource when it comes to retirement, man. I mean, you know every little. Did you enjoy school? You did, didn't you?
I did. Love school. I'm one of the few, but I wish my kids felt the same way about school as I did. Unfortunately, they don't. Well, my oldest does. The rest, they're kind of shaky.
I got you.
But yeah, I was a good student.
Yeah, and you see, kids, there's a little lesson for you. If you're a good student, you can do well later in life, and actually, you'll be set up better for retirement. That's my segue. It's the best I can do.
There you go.
Okay, today we're going to talk about financial goals. So, financial goals for people, it's all different. I mean, if you're a little bit younger, financial goals are different.
Yep.
And as you get older, they change a little bit. So let's talk a little bit about that in relation to retirement.
Yeah, so as in regards to financial goals, there are different strokes for different folks. Obviously, when you're first starting out, when you're young from a financial standpoint, in investing, when you're still wet behind the ears, your breath still smells like Similac. When you're young from a financial standpoint, there are a few things you need to do. Number one, I think you need to initially save at least $1,000 to start your emergency fund. Once you do that, then you need to move on and look to pay down any high interest, bad debt, credit card debt, high interest loans, things of that nature. Pay that down, minimize that as much as possible. After that, then you need to get back to the emergency fund and try to save at least 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. You hear a lot of financial experts, the Susie Ormans, Dave Ramsey's talk about having in at least 6 months of living expenses. So you should do that when you're first starting out. And then now you transition into saving for retirement. And if you can, the optimal amount there is at least 15% of your income. Put that away from retirement. I always talk about or compare mountain climbing to retirement planning. And when you're in that accumulation phase, when you're at the bottom of that mountain and you're looking up, if you can save and continue to be consistent in that 15% of putting away that household income, then you'll be in a better spot down the line.
Okay, this is really good advice. And again, I'm always taking notes when I have Marcus on because I have my sons are of that age, and I have one that I'm really proud of, really keeps it in line, and watches percentages of what he's spending on his car and, his apartment, etc.
Yeah.
So this would be something he'd really be interested in. Okay, you deal a lot with retirees.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about how that changes, how the financial goals change as you get older and approach retirement age.
Yeah, so when you're in retirement or when you're very close, and when we say close to retirement, at least 1 to 3 years outside of retirement, there's a few things that you need to focus on or goals you should have. Number one, and this is what most people don't like to do, is they don't like to budget. And that B word rubs people the wrong way sometimes, but if you can create that detailed budget, you need to imagine or project the retirement lifestyle that you want and how much that's going to cost. And then you need to look at the income that's coming in and then put together a budget so you can have that peace of mind knowing that you're going to be okay in retirement. So you need to start with the budget. The next thing you need to do is you need to assess your risk, because what happens when you're first starting out, when you get that first job, that first company retirement plan, 401k, you tend to pick whatever investments they have. Most people tend to go more of the aggressive side because you're younger at the time, but then you set it and then you forget it. And then as you get closer to retirement, you may not necessarily want or need all of the risk that you initially had when you were, say, 30, 35 years old, right? But most people don't make any changes. And then, of course, when the Great Recession happened in 2008, a lot of retirees or people who were close to retirement saw that they had way too much risk in their portfolios. They saw their investments drop almost by half, and they had a decision to make. Do I have to work longer, or do I just retire with less? So you need to make sure that you have the appropriate risk level and that risk tolerance. Then, of course, you have to have some sort of tax plan, some sort of tax strategy. We always say that you don't have a true retirement plan unless you have a tax plan. One of the biggest expenses that are in retirement, Uncle Sam is going to get his cut. You have to make sure that you can minimize that as much as possible. And then lastly, what a lot of people don't think about is estate planning, because a lot of people don't think that they have these big estates to do any estate planning. But estate planning basically starts with the basics: having a will, having a medical power of attorney, simple things like that, the baselines, making sure that your beneficiaries are in place and updated. That's just the basics for an estate plan. Then, of course, the more complicated, the more money you have, the more complicated it gets. Then you can start adding trust, things of that nature. But you have to make sure that all your ducks are in a row when you're planning for retirement.
I'm curious. We're talking about the differences between, financial goals when you're younger and financial goals when you're older. But I'm curious about this too. Does how you envision retirement, your expectations for retirement, that changes too? Because I remember when we were young, we all go, I'm going to have a yacht and I'm going to travel the world. But then, you get a little older, perhaps you have grandkids, and you go, I think now I want a little less. Joy means something different to me now. Do you find that to be true with retirees?
I do. I think that initially starting out, you're absolutely right. There is this retirement vision of traveling the world, taking trips around the world, just like you said, jumping in a nice big boat.
And that'd be nice.
And then and some do that. Mm-hmm. But it's those small things that, at least when I'm talking and hearing retirement stories from my clients, as far as being able to spend more time with the grandkids, being able to be with their family more, be with their spouse more in retirement. Those are the things that bring them a lot more joy than buying a Harley Davidson or something like that. Although that could be fun too.
Yeah, it all can be fun. You're right, and you can have the retirement of your dreams, what you would like, with Marcus Warren and Warren Wealth Management. Marcus, I'm curious about this as well. Okay, so is it more common for someone to come in and they've got plenty and they actually have more than they need for the retirement that they now envision, or is it more common for someone to come in and go, you know what, I didn't know about all of these taxes. I didn't think that my health might decline and I might have to spend more money in that direction. Which one? I think I know the answer, but which one of these scenarios is more common?
It's more of the latter. People who think that they have planned, for retirement. They think that they have all their ducks in a row, and then when you explain to them, number one, it's always the taxes, right? The tax thing is the main thing, because you get that 401k or that company retirement plan statement, you think it's all yours, and then you realize, oh, wait a minute, when I take money out, I'm going to be taxed, and the government's going to take their piece. So that's number one. And then, of course, health care. I've said it before on the show. A retired couple, 65 years of age, can expect to spend almost $300,000 over the course of a retirement just on health care alone, and that is with Medicare. And so, a lot of those things are out there, and a lot of those things tend to scare, retirees especially when they think that they have it all planned out, and then you have to, unfortunately, drop those, those little tidbits of information. And it's good though, because you're at least in my capacity, I have solutions to a lot of those issues that come up.
That's what I wanted to talk about with Marcus Warren and Warren Wealth Management. Here's the bottom line is this, and I know there's many benefits, but one of the biggest ones is because you strategically, know about taxes, right, and you know how to avoid some of these big tax penalties. Yep. You know what kind of savings accounts you need. You know all of the intricacies, and tax laws change. Yes. So because this is your business, to hire an expert like you is just smart, because the bottom line is you can afford to live the retirement of your dreams if you plan for it, and that's what you're all about.
Yep, it's all about having that system for success, that plan, because you're absolutely right. Tax laws, the tax code continues to change. We already know that this current tax plan, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that's here right now, that expires at the end of 2025, and then what our tax rate's going to look like after that. And then, of course, being a financial planner and focusing on investments. That changes, day to day. The market goes up, it goes down, and because of that, it causes a lot of investors to freak out sometimes. And so having the knowledge and capacity on both fronts really helps out.
So before we go to break here, I want to talk about this 15-minute phone call that you do. Okay, so what kind of things, how can you help people in a 15-minute phone call? Is it guidelines? What exactly do you discuss here, Marcus?
Well, we're looking for people who are close or in retirement, 1 to 3 years out, or you're in retirement. You have a certain amount of assets there on the screen. And basically, it's a quick 15-minute call. You can go to talktomarcus.com. My calendar pops up. Schedule a time. We want to find out where you are, where you want to be, and then we can see if we can develop a plan to get you there. A lot of times we are able to help. Sometimes we're not. But there's only one way to find out. Go to talktomarcus.com and schedule that 15-minute call.
Yes, Marcus, you're a unique guy in that because you are a tax expert as well as a wealth management expert. Usually you get one or the other. Hey, make one trip, Warren Wealth Management. We're going to take a little break, and then I'll get some questions. I have some questions here from Marcus. So we're going to go totally off script, but I promise you he'll be prepared. Find out about those answers next on Wave 3 Listens Live.